March 2023. It's one of those dates that if you work in tech or finance, it's burned into your memory. The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank.
Oh, absolutely.
It was the second largest bank failure in U.S. history, and the speed of it was absolutely terrifying. 48 hours from everything is fine to total insolvency.
Yeah, it was the financial equivalent of a cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
The entire startup ecosystem just completely froze.
Exactly. And almost immediately, the post-mortem began. We all read the same hot takes on Twitter and the Wall Street Journal. The narrative was very neat and tidy.
Interest rates spiked, right?
Right, interest rates spiked. SVB had a bond portfolio that was completely underwater. A few influential VCs shouted fire in a crowded theater, and boom, classic bank run. It was presented as a math problem.
That is the standard narrative, yes. And financially speaking, it is factually correct. But today, we are going to argue that it is incomplete.
Because if you stop at the math, you miss the actual lesson.
Exactly. If you only look at the balance sheet, you are missing the underlying rot.
Right, which is why we're doing a deep dive into a book called Support Experience by Krishna Raj Raja. And specifically, we're focusing on Chapter 2, which has a title that sounds honestly more like a psychological thriller than a business book.
It really does.
It's called Abandoned, the insidious reason you're losing customers and you don't even know it.
It's a heavy title, but after reading the chapter, I really think it's earned. Raj's central thesis here is that SVB didn't fail in March 2023.
That was just the funeral.
Right. The actual death happened years prior through a slow, quiet process of neglecting what he calls the yellow state.
The yellow state. So this is the core concept for this deep dive. It sounds like a traffic light metaphor, but Raja is an engineer by trade, right? This comes from a very different world.
It does, yeah. Before he was an author, Raja spent years in the world of application performance management, or APM.
Like the software dashboards.
Exactly. Think of tools like New Relic, Datadog, App Dynamics. These are the screens that engineers stare at to see if a website or an app is healthy. And in that world, everything is color-coded.
Okay, so let's break down the spectrum for everyone listening. Green is obviously good.
Green state means the system is perfect. Latency is low, pages load instantly, no errors. Everyone is happy. It's utopia.
And red state is the exact opposite.
Red state is a 5-alarm fire. The server is down. The checkout button is completely broken. The app is crashing on launch. It is a crisis.
People are panicking.
Yes, but, and this is a crucial point, the red state is highly visible. Alarms go off. Pagers buzz. Engineers wake up in the middle of the night. You swarm the problem and you fix it immediately because you literally have no choice.
So red is bad, but forces action. It's impossible to ignore.
Precisely. But then there is the yellow state.
And this is where it gets interesting.
In the yellow state, the system isn't down. It works. But maybe the page takes 4 seconds to load instead of 1.
Right.
Or maybe you have to click a submit button twice to get it to register. Maybe a report generates, but the formatting is just slightly off.
It's not broken. It's annoying. It's glitchy.
Exactly. It's running suboptimally. And Raja argues that the yellow state is actually the most dangerous place for a business to be because unlike the red state, no alarms go off.
Because the code technically executed.
Right. You don't wake up at 2 a.m. to fix a slow page load. You ignore it. You say, it's good enough.
But the customer doesn't think it's good enough. They are sitting there experiencing that friction every single time they use your product.
And that is exactly where the abandonment happens. In the red state, customers might get angry, but they see you trying to fix it. In the yellow state, they just quietly lose faith in you. They realize you don't care about their experience. And this brings us right back to Silicon Valley Bank.
Because Raja wasn't just analyzing this from the outside as an author. He was a client. He had millions of dollars in SVB. He was living in their yellow state for years.
Since 2016. And his personal experience really frames the whole chapter. You have to remember the context here. SVB was the bank for the innovation economy.
Right. They banked the companies inventing the future. AI, crypto, SaaS.
But SVB's own interface, it was stuck in the dot-com bubble.
Raja shares some details that are honestly painful to read. He talks about opening his account in 2016. At that time, I could open a consumer bank account on my phone while waiting in line for coffee. It took 3 minutes.
And for SVB, he had to do physical paperwork, wet signatures, mailing documents back and forth. It took days.
In 2016, that is wild.
It is. And once he was finally in, the user interface looked like Windows 95. But the story that really drives the yellow state concept home is the overdraft issue. This is the last straw moment he describes in the book.
This one killed me. So set the scene for the listener. He's a founder. He has millions of dollars deposited with the bank.
Right. But like many businesses, he keeps the money in different buckets. He has checking for operations and a savings or money market account for the bulk of the cash. One day, a payment hits his checking account, and he is slightly short in that specific bucket.
But he has millions sitting right next door in the savings account.
Exactly. Now, any modern bank, or even a decent consumer bank app, would handle this logic easily. You link the accounts. If checking is low, it pulls from savings automatically. It's basic overdraft protection.
I think my personal checking account has done that for me since, 2005?
Easily. But SVB couldn't do it. Their tech stack was so antiquated that they physically couldn't link the two account types for automatic transfers. So despite having millions in the bank, the transaction fails, or he gets hit with a $40 overdraft fee.
See, that's the thing. It isn't the $40 fee. To a company with millions in the bank, $40 are a rounding error. It's the insult.
It's the friction. It's the realization that this partner does not understand my needs. It's the friction of having to call a relationship manager just to move money because the software can't do it. That is the yellow state. It works. You could eventually move the money, but it's manual, it's slow, and it's frustrating.
And while SVB was completely stagnant, the rest of the world was moving forward. The book mentions the 5 forces affecting this, specifically the consumerization of IT.
That's a massive factor. Founders were using Uber, Instagram, Slack, beautiful, seamless, instant consumer apps. Then they log into the business bank, and it feels like a utility company from 1980. The gap was becoming impossible to ignore. And then competitors like Mercury, Brex, and Ramp showed up.
A fintechs.
And they were Green State native. Slick interfaces, total automation, self-service. You didn't have to call anyone. You just clicked a button.
So here is the million-dollar question, or I guess the billion-dollar question in SVB's case. If it was so bad, why did Raja and thousands of other founders stay for 7 years? Why didn't they just leave in 2017?
That is the insidious nature of the yellow state. It is rarely bad enough to cause an immediate rage quit. Moving a business bank account is an absolute nightmare.
You have to change payroll?
Update vendor details, switch credit cards, redo your accounting integrations. It's a massive hassle. So you tolerate the yellow state. You put up with the glitchy interface.
You stay, but you aren't loyal anymore.
Correct. You become a massive flight risk. Raja points out that while people didn't close their SVB accounts immediately, they stopped growing them. They opened new accounts at Mercury for their operational cash. They moved their credit cards to Brex. This is what he calls the silent exit.
So when the panic actually hit in March 2023, there was no emotional reservoir to draw from. No one said, we have to save SVB. They've been amazing partners. Everyone just said, finally, a reason to leave.
The relationship had been dead for years. The bank run was just the funeral.
That is a terrifying thought for any business leader listening right now. You might be looking at your retention numbers today thinking you're completely safe because nobody is canceling, while your customers are actually mentally packing their bags.
Which brings us to the blind spots. If the yellow state is so dangerous, why don't companies see it? Why didn't SVB see it? Raja identifies 3 major organizational blind spots that keep companies in the dark.
Let's break these down because this is the diagnostic part of our deep dive. Blind spot number 1. Siloed customer insights. This feels like a classic corporate buzzword problem. Oh, the silos. But Raja has a very physical story about this from his time at VMware.
It's a great visual. So before his current role, Raja was working in support at VMware. He's on the front lines, and he notices a distinct pattern. The official support tickets, the ones in the CRM, were mostly red state issues. System down, critical failure.
Because if it's just a minor annoyance, people don't bother filing a formal ticket. It's too much work.
Exactly. It takes too much time to fill out the forms. But Raja was lurking in the community forums, the discussion boards, the places where users talk to each other. And that is where the yellow state lived. Users complaining about clunky workflows, confusing menus, having to write custom scripts just to bypass bad UI.
So the data existed, it just wasn't in the official system.
Right. Raja calls this thick data, rich, contextual frustration. He gathers it all up, and he wants to tell the product engineering team. He wants to say, hey, the code works, but the users hate using it.
But the product team is in a completely different building.
Literally. He describes physically running between buildings to try and get their attention. And often, he was just dismissed. They'd look at his notes and say, this is anecdotal. It's not in the bug tracking system. If there's no ticket, there's no problem.
That is blind spot number 1 right there, the system of record trap. If the pain isn't captured in the official metric, the organization pretends it doesn't exist. Support knew the customer was unhappy. Product thought the customer was perfectly fine.
And that gap is exactly where the yellow state thrives.
Which leads us right into blind spot number 2, and I have a feeling we might disagree on this, or at least I'll play devil's advocate. We have to talk about surveys. NPS, CSAT, these are the holy grail. Every board deck includes the Net Promoter Score. Are you telling me these are useless?
I wouldn't say useless, but Raja argues they are actively misleading. They give you a totally false sense of security.
How so? If my NPS is high, my customers are happy, right?
Not necessarily. Think about the last time you filled out a software survey. Who actually takes the time to fill those out?
Ideally, everyone. But realistically, mostly people who are either thrilled or absolutely furious.
Exactly. It's a bimodal distribution. You hear from the superfans and the haters. But the vast majority of your users, the ones in the yellow state, the ones who are mildly annoyed, the ones who are quietly looking at your competitors, they just delete the email. They don't have the energy to give you feedback.
So your sample size is biased toward the extremes and you completely miss the middle.
Correct. And even worse, metrics like churn or NPS are lagging indicators. By the time someone gives you a 0 on an NPS survey, or by the time they cancel, the damage is already done. You're driving your business by looking in the rearview mirror. You can't fix a relationship that's already broken.
The chapter also mentions the customer effort score, which I've always found to be a bit of a paradox.
It is deeply ironic. The company's basically saying, we know you're having a hard time. Please spend 10 minutes filling out this form to tell us how hard of a time you're having.
Right. You are asking the customer to do work to help you fix your own product.
And in the B2B world, it gets even messier. The person filling out the survey might be a junior admin, while the VP of engineering, who never touches the survey, is already negotiating a contract with your competitor. SVB probably had decent satisfaction scores on paper right up until the end. The metrics lied because they weren't measuring the friction of the yellow state.
Okay, so silos are blind spot 1. Surveys are blind spot 2. Let's talk about blind spot 3, because this one hit really close to home for me as someone who has dealt with big tech support, the case deflection trap.
This is the most dangerous one because it is disguised as efficiency. Every CFO loves case deflection. Support is expensive. Humans are expensive. So the goal becomes, how do we stop people from calling us?
Have you checked our knowledge base? Read the FAQ. Talk to our chatbot.
Right. If we can get them to read an article instead of opening a ticket, we save money.
Yeah.
We call that a successful deflection. But Raja tells a story about installing Oracle database software that perfectly illustrates why this is a disaster for the product.
Walk us through it.
So he's installing this highly complex database. It crashes during setup. That's a red state issue. He's stuck. He searches the error code and finds a knowledge base article.
Okay, so the system is working as intended. He's self-serving.
In theory. The article says the installer crashes if you don't provide a DNS name during setup. Here is how to fix it. So Raja follows the instructions, puts in the name, and it works.
Problem solved. Ticket deflected. Oracle saves $50.
But look at the long game. 18 months later, the next version of the software comes out. Raja goes to install it. Guess what happens?
Don't tell me.
Exact same crash. Exact same missing DNS name issue.
Why wouldn't they fix that?
Because Oracle was so focused on deflecting the ticket that the feedback never made it back to engineering. They were managing the support volume, not fixing the product. They successfully hid the problem from themselves.
They put a Band-Aid on it and patted themselves on the back while the wound kept festering.
That is the definition of the yellow state. It's a known issue. It's annoying. But because there's a workaround, nobody prioritizes the root cause fix. And eventually, customers just get tired of applying Band-Aids. They want a product that doesn't bleed.
This seems to require a pretty massive shift in how we think about the customer journey. Traditionally, we have this clean line in the sand. Pre-sale is sales. Post-sale is support. Once the contract is signed, the salesperson high-fives the team and disappears.
That model is obsolete, especially in the world of product-led growth. PLG. Think about how you buy software now. You use Slack for free, you use Zoom for free, you use Canva for free. You might use these tools for months before you ever pay a single cent.
So where do those users fit? They aren't customers yet because they aren't paying, but they aren't just prospects either because they are actually using the product every day.
Exactly. Who owns the experience of a free user? Sales doesn't care. There's no commission yet. Customer success doesn't care. There's no contract to renew. They are in limbo.
So if they hit a yellow state snag, nobody's there to catch them.
And they just leave. They bounce to a competitor. So Raja proposes a new framework. Pre-land and post-land.
How does he define that distinction?
Pre-land is marketing. It's getting you to the website. But the second you sign up, whether it's a trial, a freemium account, or a paid deal, you are post-land. And support needs to own that experience immediately.
Because in a digital world, support isn't just about fixing broken things. It's about adoption.
That is the magic word, adoption. We focus so much on retention, like did they renew the contract? But retention is a lagging indicator. Adoption is a leading indicator. Are they actually using the tool?
I feel totally called out here. I have zombie subscriptions. I have a SaaS subscription for a project management tool I haven't logged into in 3 months. But I haven't canceled yet because I keep telling myself I'll use it next week.
To that company, you look like a loyal customer. Your retention is 100%, but your adoption is 0. You are a yellow state customer waiting to churn. And with the rise of usage-based pricing, think AI tokens or cloud storage, this is getting even more critical.
Right. If I'm paying per API call or per user, and I stop using the tool because it's annoying.
The revenue stops today. Not next year renewal. Today. The financial penalty for the yellow state is becoming instantaneous. If the experience sucks, the meter stops running immediately.
So we've painted a pretty stark picture here. We have the yellow state, the blind spots, the silent exit. If I'm a leader listening to this, whether I run a massive SaaS company or a small agency, how do I fix it? How do I get out of the yellow state?
It requires a fundamental shift from firefighting to fire prevention. We have to stop treating support as the department that simply cleans up the mess.
Stop celebrating the people who put out the fires and start celebrating the people who prevent them from starting.
Exactly. It's about observability. You need to look for the smoke before you see the flames.
What does smoke look like in this context? If we aren't using surveys, what are we using?
It's in the usage data. If a customer who usually logs in daily suddenly drops to weekly, that's a signal. If a user searches for the same help article 3 times in an hour, that's a signal.
They are struggling. They are stuck.
They are in the yellow state. Don't wait for them to open a ticket. Reach out. Hey, I see you're trying to configure the integration. Can we jump on a screen share and get that sorted?
That feels almost aggressive, or at least very proactive compared to what we are used to in standard support models.
It's support experience. It's the difference between SVB and its modern competitors. One waits for you to complain, the other clears the path before you even stumble.
And organizationally, how do we fix the silo problem? Do we need to make the support team run between buildings like Raja did?
Well, hopefully we have Slack for that now. But yes, the barrier has to come down. Raja argues that support data is product data. The yellow state friction points to things people complain about in the forums should be top priority for the engineering roadmap.
Because if you fix the annoyance, you don't just save that one customer. You prevent the next 10,000 customers from ever hitting that wall in the first place.
Precisely. You fix the root cause. You stop deflecting and start solving.
It really brings us back to that idea of the silent exit. SVB had all the money, all the prestige, all the connections, but they let the experience rot. And when the time came, the switching cost was lower than the loyalty.
It's a powerful lesson. You can be the incumbent. You can be the giant. But if you force your customers to live in the yellow state, someone else will eventually offer them a green state. And in the digital age, the door is always open. They will walk out, and you won't even hear the door close.
The silent exit. It's a chilling concept.
It is, but it's also an opportunity. If you can be the company that spots the yellow state, that fixes the friction before it becomes a failure, you build the kind of loyalty that survives a crisis.
So here is the challenge for everyone listening. We want you to look at your own business today. Really look at it.
Ask yourself, what is your paperwork? What is your DNS cracked?
What is that one small nagging annoyance that your customers have to deal with every single day? The one you've ignored because it's not a critical bug, or there's a workaround, or you tell yourself it's just how the industry works.
Because that annoyance is the crack in the dam. And as SVB learned, the dam can hold for a very long time, right up until the exact moment it breaks.
On that cheery but necessary note, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into support experience. It's a wake-up call, but better to wake up now than during a bank run.
Absolutely. Check your yellow states, everyone.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.